What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow, so we are back going to be talking about the penultimate episode of Survivor Season 34, Game Changers. That is super, super crazy how time is flying by. So my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa. And as y'all may notice, I'm still in this stupid dorm. So I'm still in school until Wednesday of this week. So I'm moving out on Wednesday, which means that I have to rush home so I can see the Survivor finale on Wednesday. And the reason that we did not do this podcast yesterday is because yours truly was taking a chemistry final. So
oh my God, I need to watch it on Eastern time, so I need to be free from like 5 to 8. Yes, okay, I gotta find some live streams online. I didn't remember to do that. But that is so crazy. I have moved out of the residence hall, or as some people like to comment on our videos, the jail cell or like mental asylum that you guys think we're staying in. So that is very fun. And yeah, I guess speaking of this episode, I don't know. I really sort of dislike the double boots in 1 hour thing. I thought when they said 2 people would be voted out, I thought that it would be a 2-hour episode. So 1 hour, 1 hour, like the Ozzy Haley vote outs. But then when I saw it was only 1 hour, I was like, this is so rushed. I did not like this episode.
Yeah, I feel like anytime where there's double boots in like 1 hour is bad, especially because like these are later in the game, so there's more strategy behind the boots than there might have been like if they did it earlier.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just left watching this episode sort of confused as like to some of the reasoning why people were voted out. But yeah, finale is next week. We're going into the final 6. That is crazy. So shall we get started, Alyssa?
Yeah, let's get started.
Yeah, the episode starts basically with everyone is sort of like Sarah's sort of sketchy, you know? I feel like now Sarah finally has a target on her back. She sort of maybe flew under the radar, I feel like, throughout the game so far. We didn't really see much of Sarah before the merge, and then we saw a lot of Sarah in the past few episodes. And I thought this was really interesting how Andrea noticed how Sarah was giving sort of weird looks to Sierra at tribal council. So I definitely feel like that goes to show like how you have to be so like aware of your surroundings at all points in the game.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because people tend to think of tribal, I feel like, as not part of the game, which is weird because it's like the biggest mechanism in the game of Survivor, I feel like. And people like stop paying as much attention unless they know that they might be voted out, in which case they like look for clues in the answers to tribal. But then after someone's voted out, everyone's just like, it wasn't me, I'm done. But then Andrea was noticing like Sarah was still currying favor with Sierra, which is really interesting, especially because the jury does vote on who gets to win. So if Sierra was not aware of the fact that Sarah was the one who voted her out, and I think that was Sarah's intention with the whole thing that she did, then Sarah could still very well get Sierra's jury vote.
Yeah, like I definitely feel like tribal council is another mechanism for players to like advance themselves in the game. I definitely feel like you can learn so much at tribal council just by like the answers people are saying and like the questions Jeff Probst asks. So I definitely feel like good for Sarah, like acting all surprised, like, oh my God, I didn't know Sierra, you were going home. So then she ensures that she gets the legacy advantage for herself. And then we see Sarah has 2 advantages now, the 2 votes and the legacy advantage. And then we see the 2 votes play out. But I feel like Sarah's starting to get a target on her back. We can definitely talk about it in our next week predictions for the finale. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Sarah still has my winner pick for going into the finale right now.
Yeah, I feel like Sarah definitely could win, but I also feel like the fact that people are starting to become more suspicious of her might not actually be a good thing for Sarah, because, you know, the people who got voted out this week, I feel like are not very big Sarah fans, and they could very easily, like, the tides of the game and make it so someone other than Sarah wins. Like, we talk a lot about how jury members sometimes vote, like, emotionally and not with who they believe would play the best game. So
yeah, and I'd be interested to see in the finale. I think in our video before the season started, Alyssa, we talked about like the twists and turns of Survivor season 34. And I think one of them was something like about the jury. So I'd be interested to see like if this comes into play during the finale episode next week and like what sort of happens, I guess.
yeah, we did talk about how we thought that maybe there was going to be no Ponderosa because jury members were getting kind of hive mind and there's been a lot of unanimous votes. But obviously that hasn't happened because you can still watch Ponderosa videos and they're all interacting together. So that's interesting.
Yeah, so that is that. I think going into the immunity challenge, Aubry wins, and I was like, okay, that's good. You know, Aubry finally is getting some screen time because I feel like Aubry has been very under the radar throughout this season. I don't know. I thought it was sort of funny. Like Cochran gets more screen time than some of these people on the island. Like Cochran came for the whole Debbie Exile Island, and now Jeff Probst is mentioning Cochran, and I'm like, SMH.
Cochran has more screen time than Troyzan. It's confirmed. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting because Jeff said, I believe Cochran's record was 17 minutes and Aubry did it in 6. So
Yeah.
not only did she smash the record, she like obliterated it. Like that's 1/3 of the time it took the previous contestant to do it.
Yeah, Alyssa, I think this is one of the challenges that we should practice when I'm back in Maryland because this would be easy to make, just like the stacking pieces and stuff like that and like get the height. So I think this would be something and it'd be good to practice. So if you guys want to see that, like let us know in the comments. But I think that would be sort of fun. And I feel like, I don't know, this episode sort of goes with the whole theme of how Aubry always gets fucked over. Last season, you know, Neil gets medevaced, Joe gets medevaced, and they were like Aubry's closest allies. And now in this episode, we see Andrea get voted out, and that was basically her closest ally right now out on the island. And I definitely feel like Aubry saying that she needs to get Ty out before Ty gets her out, it's going to happen next week. I feel like it's sort of foreshadowing to, and Aubry gets fucked over at 6 in the first tribal of next episode.
Yeah, so it's really funny because Aubry has this thing on her Twitter where she's now keeping like a graveyard of all the people that she was allies with and immediately got voted out. Like Neil and Joe and Tony and JT and Malcolm and Andrea. And it's like everyone, I think it also goes to show that sometimes Survivor isn't really a game about strategy. It can honestly come down to simple dumb luck, like all of your allies like getting voted off, which again isn't like just dumb luck, but it shows that there is some element of Survivor. Like you can't always plan for everything.
Yeah, so I definitely, oh shit. I definitely feel like with all of the advantages next week, I know in our last episode or podcast, we were like tell us if you guys think there's too many advantages this season, and a lot of you said you did think there were too many advantages, and I definitely feel like at Final 6, it's sort of going to be a cluster F word of advantages being played, and we can definitely talk about that in our next week guesses. But yeah, I definitely feel like Aubry, as a lot of people have said, has gotten like the purple edit. So I think Aubry is going home at the Final 6 next week.
Yeah, I can't see a way that Aubry doesn't go home at the Final 6, especially because like all of these stupid advantages, because I think we went over this last time, but I'm going to say it all again. Ty has 2 idols, Troyzan has an idol, Sarah has the legacy advantage, and then someone will be winning immunity. So that leaves idols / immunities for 6 people, which means that one person is going to be defaulted home a la Kimmy Kappenberg in Cambodia. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that is going to be a crazy tribal council. I feel like this tribal council, the first one of the episode where Andrea goes home, I feel like the vote was sort of like was split between Brad and Andrea, and I feel like both had winner potential. So I mean, either one is a good vote out. I feel like it was like a seemingly 5-3 vote, and now it's sort of like 3-3 vote, depending on how you want to look at it. I feel like going into the finale, Aubry and Andrea were the only two left out on this Andrea vote. Aubry is definitely like on the bottom per se, you know. She doesn't really have a solid alliance because all of her BFFs have been voted out of the game, as we've just said. With this tribal council, Andrea has had her name written down the most times in like the history of Survivor, and I definitely feel like Andrea going home this time, it wasn't really a surprise. I sort of thought she could have went home any of these past like 2 or 3 episodes, so her going home now, like it is definitely her time, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel bad for Andrea because I feel like she's another one of those people who she's like a good Survivor player, but like the odds just didn't stack in her favor this time around, which is why like that's one of the things I feel like about someone coming back for like a third or a fourth time. Like it doesn't come down to like a lot of times it doesn't come down to whether or not that player was a good player. I feel like they wouldn't invite people back if they didn't think that they were a good player, but it's about the way the game lays for them that particular time, which is why I feel like Boston Rob was able to win on his 4th time. Like he was never a bad Survivor player. He was a good Survivor player that sometimes got screwed over by his circumstances.
Yeah. No, yeah, like definitely I feel like a lot of these, like Andrea could have won the game. That was Alyssa and I's winner picks at the beginning of the season. So we definitely were rooting for Andrea, and I don't know, it's sort of sad to see her go because it's like that's our winner pick going home. But definitely like watching the season sort of play out, it like wasn't going to go in Andrea's favor. I
think you could tell that from the beginning because like before the merge, Andrea was kind of just like a wallflower.
Yeah. So like all of these things going, like we didn't really see Andrea winning. Like as we just said, we put her down for fantasy for a lot of things for going home recently. And yeah, now I lost the bet because Troyzan has outlasted Andrea, and now I owe my friend a crepe. So what?
I said, aw.
Yeah. So I mean, that being said, I definitely feel like yeah, Andrea is a good Survivor player. I feel like that's why she was invited back this season. Sort of similar to maybe like Malcolm or Sari, always making it super far in the game, but never sort of winning the game. So never getting over that hump to win the game. So
I feel like part of this is it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like when you're a good Survivor player, people know you're a good Survivor player and they don't want you to go to the finals with them.
Yeah.
So.
Like that's why I don't think Sari can make the final 3 because no one will want to go against like the first female 4-time player in the final 3 who definitely like could have won Survivor in her previous seasons. Like she's always been basically 1 vote away from the finale, sort of like how Ozzy is always so close and yet so far.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then I feel like Michaela's boot was kind of overshadowed by Andrea's boot. And then also all of the stuff that happened beforehand that was kind of confusing. So like Brad Culpepper wins the immunity and he like had this huge thing where he was like chucking sand. And I was like, take a chill pill, Brad.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought his outburst was sort of like off-putting. It sort of reminded me of Troyzan's like outburst when he really needed to win immunity, and I feel like that's sort of what Troyzan is known for, and that's why he was invited back this season. But like, yeah, it was like really raw emotion, and like that's good to see on Survivor, I feel like, but this was just so extra. I mean, I don't know. That's why like now I'm sort of iffy about a Brad win because Brad hasn't had that much screen time recently. Like this whole like outburst is seen sort of in a negative light, which I'm like so close to the end, you don't really want that negative screen time. But then on the other hand, Brad is an underdog. After the merge, he has been the underdog, and he has had a lot of depth earlier in the game with everything that we saw pre-merge. I feel like he's gotten a lot of screen time and like a good edit based off that. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Brad's outburst also kind of like faded into the background in light of all the other stuff that happened. Like, I personally didn't remember it by the end of the episode because I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, so basically the second tribal council, I was so confused. Sarah gives Suri the advantage to basically show loyalty, like, I trust you, Suri, like, hold on to this for me, like, I 100%.
But the advantage is non-transferable. So while Suri, like, had possession of it, she was never able to use it, which is where the whole thing with the tribal council, like, happens from.
Yeah,
that's,
and
like, important to clarify.
I think that's like really smart of Sarah, like knowing that, oh, it's not non-transferable. So like Suri, even if she wanted to, couldn't steal it from me. So it definitely goes to show like Sarah's definitely thinking out on the island. And it does show like loyalty, and it might have backfired in Suri's face, which sort of makes it like maybe less loyal, because I feel like it sort of puts a divide maybe between Sarah and Suri because of this. But yeah, I definitely feel like Sarah doing this for Suri, if everything like went smoothly, it could have solidified a really good bond between the two.
Yeah, but things never go smoothly on Survivor.
Yeah, so Suri wanted to take Sarah's vote and then vote in like her way, so Sarah is saved. And then, I don't know, I was sort of confused by this. And then tribal council, everything blew up. And then Jeff Probst is like, you know, votes are non-transferable. Sarah takes the vote steal back and then uses it. And then they vote out Michaela. So and then, I don't know. I feel like the episode was so rushed. I don't have any reasoning or like any prediction as to why Michaela would be going home at this time. Like, we did not hear anything about like, I want to vote Michaela because blank. We heard stuff about let's vote Ty out because he is making connections with Aubry. We heard let's vote Troyzen out because he is very likable. We heard let's vote Brad out because he is an immunity challenge like threat and stuff like that. But we had not heard anything on why vote Michaela out. So this vote, I'm just like, you know, why?
I feel like Michaela, it could be because, like, if people saw her as, like, an accessory to Suri, like, I know they were being kind of down low about their kind of alliance thing, but, like, if someone saw that, then I feel like that would definitely, like, have something to do with it. And then Suri's actions trying to steal the vote steal from Sarah in a vote where Michaela eventually ended up going home probably would have solidified that idea with people, even if they like didn't know 100%. So that's a theory. But again, that's one of the things I don't like about the double boot episodes, because you don't get as much time to
I definitely feel like
see all the reasoning.
It was way too rushed. I feel like Michaela could have been a very good person to bring to the final three. Maybe not necessarily a GOAT to the final three, but I feel like Michaela probably wouldn't have like won this game. I feel like the jury doesn't really like her that much. So I feel like Michaela would have been good to bring to the final three, because I feel like with the 6 people left, it's going to be very tricky to have a final three where you sort of have like an overwhelming majority, maybe like an like full all jury votes for one person.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be interesting because like Andrea and Michaela, I feel like both held a lot of knowledge about like what's been going on in the game since the jury's been voted out. So like they can be like, listen, this is the person who sent you home. Do with that information what you will.
Yeah. So going on to next week, the 2-hour finale and then live reunion show. I'm very excited. Alyssa, what do we want to do? Like just one person goes through? Like I sort of wrote down what I think is going to happen at 6-5, like 4-3 going on.
Yeah, I feel like we should both go through our 6-5-4 and then say our final 3, and then we can say who we think each of the jury members will vote for.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. So do we both want to do 6 and then we can both do 5, like go like that?
I feel like we both have the same 6 and maybe 5 and maybe 4.
Probably. So you can go first for 6 and then I'll say my first.
Yeah, so we were talking about Aubry going out at the final 6, and I feel like that's definitely something that is going to happen just because of Aubry's edit. I can't see her going out in a very like good way. Like I've seen a lot of parallels between her edit and Kimmy Kappenberg's in Cambodia, and like considering the way Kimmy went out, I feel like it would not be unbelievable for Aubry to go out just because she was defaulted out due to all of the different idols and advantages left in play.
Yeah, so I definitely feel like same thing. 6 people left. Sarah will play her legacy advantage. She's safe. Troyzen and Ty, depending who like wins immunity, will probably use all 3 idols to save Brad and then themselves. So Troyzen and Ty and Brad would be safe. So that means the only people left to vote for would be basically Cirie and Aubry. I feel like Aubry would probably be fucked over in this situation. Like everyone would unanimously choose Aubry to go home over Cirie because I feel like Cirie will probably cry at tribal council and have a really nice like reason or case to stay in the game with her whole family, and like being such like a big name on the show, I feel like people would have to vote Aubry out over Cirie. So I feel like Aubry goes home at final 6.
Or it could just be like Ty plays his second idol on Cirie.
Yeah.
And she's automatically safe.
Yeah, so something like that'll happen with all these advantages. Aubry goes home. I guess I'll say my final 5. So now Brad, Troyzen, Ty, Cirie, and Sarah are left in the game. I think Brad will go home at final 5. I was sort of iffy because I feel like Brad and Sarah are the 2 people who have like the greatest winner potentials, and then Cirie is sort of like maybe winner potential, and then maybe Ty has maybe winner potential, then Troyzen has like no winner potential. So I think with those 5, I was sort of conflicted between Brad and Sarah. So final 5 would be the good time to get one of the 2 winner potential people out. You usually see it like final 5, final 4. So I feel like at 5, Brad would go home. So Sarah and Cirie would bring in Troyzen and Ty to vote out Brad, because I feel like Troyzen and Ty would be willing to vote out Brad because they see Brad as a big threat. But I don't know if I can see Troyzen and Ty voting Sarah out because I don't really think they think she's a big threat.
I feel I had a different pick for the next boot, and I thought that it would be Cirie just because the way we were talking about it last time, like Cirie would survive that vote by like the skin of her teeth, and the only reason that people would keep her was because of sentimentality, not because it benefited them strategically. And I feel like it's safe to say that Cirie probably isn't going to win individual immunity, and she is like one of those people. I feel like if she got to the final 3, even if she didn't play a great game strategically, people would still vote for her because she's Cirie and she's like a survivor icon. And like that's not the kind of person you want to sit beside you. So kind of the same logic, but different person.
Yeah. Is your fourth place finish?
So my 4th place finish, I put Ty just because I feel like really the only thing keeping him in this game at this point is the fact that he has idols. And like Ty's been shown like a lot of his narrative has been kind of connected with like Aubry and the other players from Co-Wrong. So I feel like once Aubry's gone, there won't be a lot of time for Ty. So I feel like also the fact that Ty like was shown to be at the bottom of his alliance in that one episode, like no one in his alliance really respects him. Not a lot of other people seem to really like think that he's a good player. Like he talked a lot about playing with his head instead of his heart, but I'm not sure how well he succeeded this time. And he didn't really like, there are no moves in this game that you can say, oh, Ty did this. So even if he did get to the final 3, I feel like he would not win. So they just vote him out.
Wow, that's interesting. I put my final 4. So Troyzan, Ty, Suri, and Sarah would be left in the game. And I'm like, oh, damn. Like, who do you, like, I feel like the final 3, it's sort of hard to pick right now. So I said final 4, they would vote out Suri. Like you were saying, you cannot let the 4-time player to the end of the game, because even if Suri doesn't, or like hadn't played a really good game or whatever, people would still want to vote for her, because Suri definitely has deserved to win in the past, and she just has been so close and yet so far. So if I were Troyzan, Suri, or Troyzan, Ty, and Sarah, I'd be voting Suri out here. Like, you do not want to go with her to the end. Similar with Brad, like I think the path to the end for Sarah is bringing Troyzan and Ty, because she has a clear shot at winning the game with those 2 people. And I feel like Sarah realizes this.
I don't know. I've always kind of disliked the like whole bring 2 goats with you and have an obvious winner thing, because I feel like at this point Troyzan and Ty are both goats. And so like it's great that you win Survivor against them, but is it really like fun to win Survivor if you win it because your opponents are like literally stupid? Like I would rather.
I thought like your final 3, you have some competition between Brad and Sarah there. I think that would be really neat to see. I went the more like, let's get the easiest, best way to win the game path to the end route. So I think that's really interesting how we're like 2 flip sides of the coin right now.
But I mean, I feel like yours also depends on the fact that like Sarah has control. And I feel like has been doing very well in this game, but she might not have control of who gets to vote where. And so while she might prefer that path, then it might not be possible.
Yep, it also depends like who wins immunity, stuff like that. It's going to be a crazy finish, I feel like. Do we want to do jury votes?
I mean, I feel like since we have different final 3s, maybe? Because I feel like it's pretty easy to say that your final will probably be unanimous with everyone voting Sarah.
Yeah, so I guess we can go through yours and I can like comment and whatever, because I think yours will be closer. And like, who's your winner pick out of Brad, Sarah, and who's your other one?
Troyzan.
Yeah. Who's your winner pick between Brad and Sarah?
I think that it's going to be Sarah, but I think it's going to be Sarah as 5-4 or 6-3, not 9-0-0. So
okay. So what's your like votes?
Okay, so I'm going to start at the most recently voted out and work back towards the first jury member. So starting with Ty, I feel like Ty will probably vote for Sarah, just because I don't think he's all that close to Brad. But yeah, I just feel like Ty would go for Sarah, but then Suri would vote for Brad because of this whole debacle with the like transferable vote and like them kind of like shooting himself in the foot and stuff like that. And then Aubry, I feel like will vote for Sarah because she's the kind of person where she wants the like strategic game to be like recognized, and she kind of lost because people valued like social more than strategic moves. Michaela, I feel like is kind of on the fence, so I'm gonna come back to Michaela. I feel like Andrea will.
You don't think that Ty would vote for Brad? They were really close like at the beginning of the game.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of these people could go either way, and it all depends on what's said at the final tribal council. But I feel, honestly, I have no idea. So.
Okay, yeah, continue. Yeah.
Where was I? Michaela, I don't know. Andrea, I feel like, is another toss-up, or it could be either Brad or Sarah. I feel like Sierra will definitely vote for Brad because Sarah was the one who orchestrated her vote out, and also she and Brad were allies for most of the game. I feel like Zeke will vote for Sarah because Zeke also respects strategy and stuff. Debbie will vote for Sarah because she and Brad had that whole like explosion the game. I feel like Ozzy will vote for Brad just because, not that they're parallels, but they're two very similar people.
Mm.
And so I feel like, in a way, Ozzy voting for Brad would be like Ozzy voting for Ozzy. And then Haley, I don't feel like Haley would like any of my potential winners. So, yeah.
Maybe, I feel like Haley would vote for gameplay because I feel like in Ponderosa, she really mentioned how, like, you know, how she really wanted to vote for gameplay.
Yeah. But so what mine comes down to, I switched Ty to voting for Brad. But what mine comes down to is I have 4 people who would vote for Brad, 4 who would vote for Sarah, and then 2 swing.
Okay. So it just depends on, like, who are the 2 swing for you?
Andrea and Michaela.
Okay.
Because I feel like Michaela's like a very emotional person, and if they can like stroke her ego at the final tribal, then maybe she would be more compelled to vote for one or the other. I feel like she definitely leaned towards Brad though, just because like she wouldn't want to vote for the person who voted her out. So.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, that's interesting. I feel like how it sort of like is narrowed down to like maybe 2 people's votes at final tribal council. I definitely feel like I could see, maybe, yeah, Andrea could, I feel like, vote either Brad or Sarah. Sarah for Andrea, definitely, they were like sort of close, and then Andrea recognizes how Sarah is such a big threat, but she was able to make it to the end. I feel like people would reward, if Brad was final 3, a like underdog story, and I feel like Brad could play that up in a final 3. Like, you know, I've been playing from the bottom since practically the merge after him and like Sierra fell from grace. So I definitely feel like that could be an outlet. I really think it's funny how both of us have Troyzan at the final 3 and not getting like any votes. So I guess just to repeat, Alyssa's final 3 is Sarah, Brad, and Troyzan, and then my final 3 is Sarah, Ty, and Troyzan.
And Rachel thinks that Sarah will win unanimously, if not almost unanimously. And I think it'll be kind of a toss-up between Brad and Sarah, depending on how the final tribal council goes and whether the jury decides they want to reward strategy or like a good story arc.
Yeah, I definitely feel like if my final 3 with a Troyzan, Ty, and Sarah, I feel like Sarah would still get the majority. I feel like maybe 1 or 2 people would vote Ty, depending how final tribal council goes. But I feel like definitely like how you present yourself, how you answer questions, like how you speak at final tribal council definitely sort of influences things. Although I do feel like a lot of people do go into final tribal council with their minds already made up. Which is sort of sucky, I guess, you know, because you don't know what everything that's happening in the game. So maybe that's like what the twist is for the jury thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's good to know like an idea of like who you want to vote for and why you want to vote for them. But I feel like too many people go in with like misconceptions and then they credit the wrong people with moves and they vote the wrong way because they credited the wrong person. Well, not the wrong way, but they vote a different way because they credited the wrong person. Or like, I don't know, I think just in general, the jury needs to keep a more open mind. But I really like the days of pick a number 1 to 10, whoever's closest will get my vote. That's
good times. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm very excited for the final tribal council next week. Alyssa and I can watch it at the same time, and we can finally message and stuff like that. So I think it'll be really, really fun.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun, and we hope that y'all will enjoy it. And obviously, there's going to be the reunion show, which is always like a mixture of like amusing and awkward. And so that's going to be really interesting. So if you guys want to comment down below who you think the final three will be and then who you think the winner will be, let us know. We love to hear your opinions. And then next week, or this coming Wednesday, I guess, we can see who was correct. So we'll see you guys then. Thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing. Bye.